Hello, my name is Ritti Soncco, and tonight I'm going to read to you a new extract from my upcoming novel Munay. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy my bookshelf's hat. From Chapter 2. T understood her role as the heart of the caravans. The pulse in her veins was what kept the caravan wheels in motion. The tenacity of her soul was what attracted the audiences. Somehow they felt it. Somehow they knew here was time away from the surfaces of everything they knew to be true. They came because they wanted to flirt with the idea of believing in something else. If just for a short while they wanted to bend reality. This was the promise with which she called them. And for more years than she cared to count, she had done it well. She was the heart of the house. The lifestyle they led as nomads placed them beyond the periphery of the norm, and it was T's knowledge that kept them alive. Her knowledge of herbs, meats, liquids, and the weather. It was she who guided the caravans to their next destination. She pored over maps that depicted not countries, but the locations of plants. Depending on what they needed, that was where she led them. Did the women suffer from irregular menstruation? They headed for forests of wormwood, chamomile, and thyme. Did the men suffer from impotence? They sought fields rich in garlic, anise, and salvia. T kept an elaborate apothecary in the splendid jars in her caravan kitchen, but these paled in comparison to the fresh herbs and sudden needs. Thus, they sailed the tempest of life, always reacting to its storms with alternating herbal answers. Being simple people, they never needed much, but sometimes they did, and now was such a time. Where she gave, T also received. That was the price of balance. And now that one of her caravans could not sleep, T inadvertently suffered the melancholia with her. Her own sleep became lighter, and with the footfalls that murmured past her door every night, she slept less and less, until she realized she was awake and staring at the wooden planks of her ceiling. T feared that girl's insomnia. She could not bear to watch one of her own unravel slowly over time, until all that remained of that once strong-hearted girl would be a miserable ghost who had nothing to do. And how carry something with you that is devoid of passion and life? No, if she continued this way, the girl would have to go. At the next village, perhaps, left sitting by the road, a ghost, nothing more. It wouldn't be Anahata they were leaving. Anahata would by then be long gone. And they wouldn't mourn her shell either. They would only acknowledge that sometimes, on bitter occasions, Darwin commanded the law. You either learnt to swim in the depths, or you returned to the simple life. Perhaps back in the shallow end, she could regain her footing. Perhaps tending to chickens was just the therapy she needed. T knew she couldn't keep her much longer, but Anahata would never leave voluntarily. So T got out of bed and walked thoughtfully over to her kitchen. She stood in the dark for a long time, peering onto her shelves before finding the plant she was seeking. Slowly, she pulled the dark thing out from among the other herbs and dug her long thumbnail along its side. Its milk seeped out and down her bony fingers. She sniffed at it. It was not friendly. In that moment, T hated the world. She hated the messy boy sleeping on her floor. She hated what the world had done to him. She hated how the world sometimes tipped to one side, and after some things had fallen over the edge, it restored its balance. But in that movement, millions of people lost something. And this loss now left them suffering. She knew better than to ask herself why the world sometimes tipped. Pachamama's hips were in constant motion, and she was a traditional lady who loved to dance. We have a mother whose next move is never easy to predict. If we don't know the rhythm of her song, how can we hope to keep up with her dance? T looked at the nepenthes in her hand. A shadow had risen from the floor. The boy was awake. "What is that?" he asked, creeping over. "It is to help her forget the life of the world," T answered. "We can help her," he responded, sounding hopeful and surprised. He hadn't been aware that such a thing existed. "It comes at a price," T said, "and I don't know if she should have to pay another one, in addition to the one she is already paying. It will help her forget her pain, but it will make her forget everything else too. Her joy, her energy, herself. Once she takes it, she will stay behind." He couldn't believe his ears. No one was ever left behind. T was silent for a while, and then she said, "She must get better. She must. We will have to wait and see if she can survive this. But if she continues to hold this siege against our caravans, then we must find a way to make her leave. Sacrifice her to this plant. Make it all that matters to her. We'll leave her enough to ease her pain for the rest of her life, or enough to end it in one dose." The boy looked at T. She was shaking, with anger, with confusion. She had always been their guide, but this time she was lost. He stood beside her in the dark, knowing that he was seeing her weakness and her anger at having to make a choice she did not want to make. She shared her weakness with him in the dark, but her eyes never left the opium poppy in her hand. Thank you very much for listening.